Hello everybody, I'm back with another contest entry. This one is for my good friend, and I'm sure he's yours too, Mr. Larry Graves, aka the Canadian Studmuffin. Larry just recently celebrated 15, maybe 16 years on YouTube. So congrats, Larry. Larry is one of the original YouTube celebrities, if you will. He started his channel right when YouTube, went live for the world to enjoy. And I've had the privilege over the last year thereabouts to become actual friends with Larry, not just a commenter. And I've, met Larry on numerous live chats that we've done. We've collaborated on a couple of videos. We worked with Rich Strickler on a ranking of Band on the Run on Rich's channel. And I contact Larry off camera quite a bit too, and we were just good pals. So Larry, I'm really glad to know you. And Larry, even though he has this large channel and he does his comedy, he does his unboxings, he also has an ASMR channel, he does everything. Larry is also now a contest host. He's hosting a contest, and I think for no reason other than just to have a contest. And so Larry's offering $50 in Canadian funds through Amazon. And what he wants us to do is to show 10 or 12 albums by some of our favorite artists. And he wants us to show some of our favorite and least favorite album covers from these artists. So I think I got 12 artists here that, that I kind of collected from my shelves behind me. So let me go ahead and show you what I have. And I'm going to start with the bad for each. The first I'm going to do is Jackson Browne. Now, I love Jackson Browne, but this album cover has never done it for me. I love this album. It's probably my favorite Jackson Browne album, but it was on the beginning stages of like working with digital art, and I don't know, it's like the real drum set is in front of a generated like screen or something behind it, and it just, I mean, it gives you the title, you're running on empty, there's the road. But I've never liked that album cover. So, however, this album cover perfectly fits the 70s. It's got that look that a lot of artists were going with, like Clapton and the Eagles and Crosby, Stills and Nash, guys like that were kind of taking in this kind of style of artwork. So this is Late for the Sky. Absolutely love that cover. It's beautiful. Next, another one of my favorites, Mr. Bob Dylan. And when you're somebody that's got 40 albums, you're going to have several bad album covers, and you're going to have a lot of good ones. Dylan has a lot of iconic album covers. Freewheelin', Highway 61, Blood on the Tracks, but he's also got album covers that look like this. Knocked Out Loaded, and as you can see, it's all cracked and everything, because that's how much Amazon likes this album cover as well. I mean, I don't understand. She's knocking this dude out who's talking to a dead man or fighting somebody, and I don't know, like, were they lovers? Why is she scantily clad? I don't know. So Knocked Out Loaded, not your best, Bob. But this very well may be his best album cover. Blonde on Blonde. Not my favorite Dylan album, but probably my favorite Dylan album cover. If I was to get a poster of any of Dylan's album covers, it would be this one to start with. Blonde on Blonde. Next, let's move into Miles Davis, the jazz trumpeter. Now, again, Miles is one of these guys. He's got 80, 90, 100 albums of some kind. So he's going to have some stinkers too. But to be fair, a lot of his albums were coming out when album covers didn't mean anything. For example, love this album. It's called Miles Smiles. Cannot stand the album cover. It's like he's wincing. It's like somebody's holding him back from letting out rage. It also might look like he has, some stomach issues. It's like he's just staring off thinking, like, I need to get through the show and make it to a bathroom. That's what I see when I see that. I don't understand it. Miles. But then you have an album cover like this, Kind of Blue, his biggest album, probably what critics consider the greatest jazz album of all time. Would I consider it that? No, probably not. I prefer some other jazz albums a little bit more, but you can't deny the impact this album had, and that cover is just encompasses jazz in the late 50s, early 60s. So, Kind of Blue. Next, let's move into the world of rock and pop. Let's start with the Electric Light Orchestra. This is Secret Messages. Again, what are the messages here? I mean, you've got, I'll cover it up here for the kids, but there's some weird, like, Greek painting, and I don't get it. Not one of their biggest albums at all. It was the 80s. People weren't thinking about class. I don't know. But then you have a great album cover like Discovery. Love that album cover. It's creepy. It's mysterious. And then you've got the great ELO spaceship. And bonus points, if you can tell me who's on the back cover of Discovery. I'll leave it at that. Let's go now into one of the biggest stars of all time. Probably the biggest star of all time. Let's be real. Paul McCartney. I'm just going to show this. Not a great album cover. This is Driving Rain. It's a very pixelated image. I believe the pictures were taken from like the original smartwatch. And it's not good. But then you have an iconic and pleasing cover like McCartney 1. I mean, I just love that album cover with the cherries taken by his wife Linda. I mean, how can you go wrong? Next, John Mayer. I love John Mayer. Y'all that know my channel know that I love Mayer. I love his stuff. I love that he's playing with the Grateful Dead. However, Mr. Mayer came out with an album in 2017 called The Search for Everything. And it's not only one of the worst album covers of all time, it is not one of Mayer's best albums either. And Jeff Witcher, you can take this as you will. What's going on, John? He's shirtless. He has like a band wrapped around his head. He's got like this psychedelic, like floral kaleidoscope stuff behind him. It's a sketch. There's a weird tattoo there. And when I first saw it, I thought it was like a measuring tape measuring his hat size. Just terrible. Just absolutely terrible. It's an okay album, but then you have a beautiful album cover like this on Paradise Valley. There's John in Montana with his dog. And you completely understand what kind of music you're getting into there. It's roots, Americana, just great stuff. It's one of my favorite John Mayer albums. It's my second favorite John Mayer album after Born and Raised. Next, let's go to John Prine. And again, just like most people, the 80s were not kind to Mr. Prine's choice for album artwork. And this is one of his lesser known albums, Storm Windows. And he looks like a high school girl who just got her prom picture taken with the soft filter and the airbrushing of the face. If you were to remove his mustache, he would be the prom queen. Just not great. It's not one of his best albums either. Yeah, no real hits on there. It says the art direction was by a guy named Ron Cora. You should be ashamed for yourself, Ron. Not good. But then you have classics like the first album, John Prine, on the hay bale, which is funny because John Prine said up until that point he'd never really seen or sat on a hay bale before. He was from Chicago, but they thought that the music that he put out sounded like this album cover. So next, let's go to Van Morrison. This is not his last album, but the album before, called Latest Record Project. I don't understand the like digital arrow. Doesn't make any sense. The album title itself is not good. Latest Record Project Volume 1. I supposedly have it signed, this little slip, but that's up for debate as to whether that's a real signature or not. But it's an okay album. It's not great. It's probably closer to a bad album, but it's got some good stuff. But then compare that to an album cover that looks like this. St. Dominic's Preview. Van looking all cool in the denim in front of the blue door playing the guitar. Fantastic album cover. Great album too. Next, let's go to Elton John. Elton John has a lot of bad album covers. I don't own all of his records, but of all the records that I own, this one's the worst. Rock of the Westies. It's Elton being a little schemer, a little scamp. He's like, haha, I'm going to break away from Bernie Taupin and try albums without him. And, that didn't go that great. But, you've got some okay songs on here, like Island Girl. I Feel Like a Bullet in the Gun of Robert Ford. Billy Bones and the White Bird. So, but then you have a album cover like this, which is my favorite Elton John album and my favorite Elton John album cover, Madman Across the Water, embroidered on denim. So Elton, he could do better than Rock of the Westies. Next, one of my favorite groups of the modern era, the Avett Brothers. This is their most recent full-length album, called Closer Than Together. I really don't like that album cover. It's of the, in order from closest to furthest, you have Seth and Scott Avett, and then Bob Crawford, the bassist. That's when Seth had shaved his head, so you have like his shaved head. You have Scott and Bob and Seth just looking miserable. It's just weird. I don't really get it. The whole yin yang and like, what is this stuff down here? Is that Seth and Scott and Bob spitting? Not good. On the other hand, you have this beautiful artwork, the album I Am Loving You. It's a painting by Scott. Just a really great album cover, and a lot of people say it's their best album. I'm not one to argue. All right, 2 more, and then I'm going to be out of here, Larry. I'm sorry for the long video. Next, Willie Nelson. Again, somebody that's had a ton of album covers. This one, when it came out, I almost didn't buy the album because of how bad this album cover was. And let me take it out of the sleeve because I want you to get the full effect of this absolutely atrocious album cover. This is an album called The First Rose of Spring. It came out in 2020. Just look at this for a second. Just look at how bad this album cover is. So you've got like the rugged Willie Nelson font. You've got like the cutesy cursive down there. You've got this huge rose, which I would have been fine if it was just the rose. But then you have like these weird butterflies coming out of there. And then to top it all off, you have these creepy eyes with some bangs. And then lips. But you can't, there's a very faint nose, but it's like cartoon. And it's just not good. Terrible, terrible, terrible album cover. And it's got some beautiful songs on it. I mean, Willie Nelson doesn't make necessarily bad albums. He has some bad songs, but you're always going to find at least a gem or two on a Willie Nelson album. And yeah, beautiful song in here called Don't Let the Old Man In. But then you have, an iconic cover like this, The Red-Headed Stranger, and there's Willie looking all cool like a cowboy. Probably one of Willie's top 5 albums. And then lastly, I had to talk about Tom Petty. This is Tom Petty's second album called You're Gonna Get It. Just really weird. It's the sophomore album. They've got this weird blue light, kind of soft, glows about them. They all look kind of chunky, kind of bloated. Which I don't really understand because Tom Petty never looked like he had any weight on him. But Tom and Stan and Ben Mott in the front row they just don't look good. It's a really good album. I mean, you've got, I Need to Know, Listen to Her Heart. One of my favorites on here is No Second Thoughts. And it's funny is the last album I picked is the album that came out prior to that. The first one, self-titled, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Look how cool that dude is. Just a complete and utter rebel. Absolutely love him. He was sticking it to the man as early as the first album. There's that iconic Heartbreaker logo. And then you've got, Breakdown, American Girl, anything that's rock and roll. Mystery Man. Just a great, great debut by Tom and the boys. So anyway, sorry it's so long, Larry, but I wanted to fit in 12. I love this topic. So please, everybody, join this contest. I'm sure you all know Larry. If not, I'll put his channel below, but you probably know him. So anyway, in the meantime, y'all be good. Take care. Talk to y'all real soon.